For the first time in years, the IORA Cup Series is off schedule. We were supposed to begin our championship race this week. For good reasons and bad, however, that will not be the case. We come tonight only with good news, but the reason we took that break, not quite the case. If you've been with us for a long time here, you'd know Mason Moriarty. We didn't quite know where he was on race week just 2 weeks ago when we went to Talladega for our points-paying regular season finale. Nobody had a clue. However, unfortunately, just the night before, on October 30th of 2024, at around 4 p.m., Mason Moriarty was rushed to hospital, involved in a motorcycle accident with a delivery van, critical status, condition unknown. Unbeknownst to the IORA Cup Series and our entire racing family, this became clear to us just 2 nights later, and we made sure to go immediately into a pause of our racing operations. Thankfully, first and foremost, we have heard from Mason Moriarty alongside his family. He has continued to improve in condition each and every day. Getting out of ICU and into physical therapy, we hope to have Mason back very soon. And that's cause for celebration as we come back to the field tonight in Talladega. But the IORA Cup Series returns to Talladega nonetheless for a special cause. Tonight, we race for Mason, coming for the first time and hopefully last, a 200-mile special event, 75 laps around the Talladega Superspeedway in support of our league owner and a dedicated member of the sim racing community, Mason Moriarty. Drivers tonight not only coming through as IORA veterans, some of which are actually making their very first IORA start, all of which have contributed to the Mason Moriarty Relief Fund. The GoFundMe link is in our chat room tonight. Each and every single one of the drivers you will see here have been able to contribute to the cause to ensure that our, of course, a close friend and our league owner will recover in due time. And it's wonderful to have the entire field come back for this special event. The championship will be back in schedule next week. We're taking this time off and we are glad to be back with good news and great racing. I'll be your host for tonight's event. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing. Qualifying just wrapped up with about 20 drivers taking to the circuit. Provisional pole on the day going to Trevor Huff in the number 66, with Henry Kaloff then in second. And as we take a look right now at our timing screen, many drivers getting beat up all around the circuit. Not going to be using the Xfinity cars tonight, and there's a reason, and a special reason why. All comes down to Mason Moriarty tonight in celebration of him, as well as making sure that we can all stand against necessarily a tragedy. He came out alive and we are grateful for that, but a very misfortunate circumstance that has unfortunately taken Mason away from the racing circuit for the past few weeks. Qualifying times go as follows. You'll see them on the left side of your screen. Currently, it looks like at the top of the board, it's still going to be Trevor Huff, and he finds himself there looking pretty good at that as they're qualifying times have been taken. The entire field looks like it's said and done. It looks like 19 drivers registered so far, with a few more getting onto the circuit as we speak. With qualifying over, it's time to move on to your main event. 75 laps. That's what's left on the table, and drivers are now going to be lining up as they open up tonight's main. Trevor Huff getting the chance to be on the pole position. You see Connor Mirabelli right there. So some drivers you might not be all too familiar with making their first starts of the season, if not the year. Trevor, he's an SRL Cup Series driver. He's coming over from the Sunday swing to Thursday nights to help out in support of the cause. Now every driver going to be in your lineup, as you can see, first all the way down to 19th for tonight. So let's go to know, of course, that starting grid based on timing speeds. Inside of row number 1 is going to be Trevor Huff in the number 66. Trevor making a one-off start to support the IORA Cup Series community. He'll be there on the pole position, and right alongside him will be Henry Kaloff with a 47.959. Third place, another rookie. That's going to be Waymar Duffus in the 3rd spot, and 4th, Patrick Combs. Both drivers who are not experienced with the IORA Cup Series making their first IORA sanction starts tonight. They'll line up 3rd and 4th on the lineup here for the starting grid. Then you got Braden Mubick, who's going to be in 5th, and 6th place in Dominic Barbagallo. They're going to be separate by less than 1,000th of a second. Braden gets the advantage in timing by just the smallest of margins. Jim Thurston's going to be starting inside of row number 4 in 7th, and Connor Mirabelli in the number 9 will begin in P8. Austin Delgado. 9th place, Nathan Palawada concludes the top 10 in the number 78. His time is about 0.6 of a second off of pole sitter in Trevor Huff. 11th place then and there going to be Devins Baker with River Page 12th and Michael Deitch 13th and last of those who took a time in qualifying. Then you got drivers who did not take a lap. Daniel Mosteller in the number 87. He's going to be outside of row 7 for 14th to start. Chase Schaefer changing up his number. He's going to be the number 22 tonight in commemoration of Mason Moriarty. He'll be inside of row 8, and Aaron Schugel on the outside will start in 16th. You've got Vincent Guecci and Aiden Graham 17th and 18th spots. Finally, it'll be Leroy Rosenberry, the only driver on the 10th row of the grid tonight, making his debut in the number 61. Starting grid complete with new and old names alike. Trevor Huff at the top of the board. Tonight, we go racing for Mason in Talladega. And as you can see, a little bit of weaving and bobbing now. Drivers trying to get some warmth in their tire. Overall conditions are going to be very mild tonight, as you can see on the bottom right of your screen right now. Conditions, track temperature is going to be coming in at 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Ambient temperature comes through at about 73. So overall, conditions very favorable for drivers at this 2.66 mile circuit. Talladega Superspeedway, one of the longest all throughout the country, not just when it comes to, of course, oval racing, but road courses alike. There are road courses on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule which are nowhere near the size of Talladega. Its scope is undeniable, and its speeds are even more so. Tonight we're using some of the fastest ovals on the platform, of course with the fastest cars. Talladega Gen 4, a combination that goes more than 200 miles an hour, and the story of why we chose this combination goes back to the summer of 2021. Mason Moriarty and a major victory in the sim racing world. He took the checkered flag in his number 6 more than 3 years ago, and of course, it's linked to the memories of all those in the IORA Cup Series to this day, a moment that might have sparked inspiration for bringing this group of drivers together. Well, tonight, 19 of which are together again on the circuit. Many more have been watching on, and countless others have donated and spread the word for Mason Moriarty. We are thankful, of course, he's made a continued recovery and can't wait to see him back on the racetrack. Until that time comes, though, it'll be Trevor Huff and the field that gets to go racing here in Talladega, keeping the celebrations alive and well. iRacing official pace car dives low. Trevor Huff gonna line up on the inside, and with them will be Henry Kaloff up top. Green flag racing once again as we pass by the Geico restart zone to kick things off Gen 4 style. Green flags out, and the race for the Mason has begun. It'll be up top Kaloff, and Trevor Huff remains on the bottom. And so now, it looks like the field has already trickled down a little bit in the back half of the field. Most drivers getting single file. Already, though, some double file, even 3 wide, up at the front of the pack. A tale of 2 races already as we come by for lap number 2. If you were with us in the IORA Cup Series, you might remember we had a fantastic race for points-paying competition with the majority of this pack in it, not to mention 10 other drivers. It was nearly 30 that descended upon Talladega 2 weeks ago on Halloween night, and we only had 2 cautions cautions, all of which came after the lap 65 marker. So if drivers are to replicate that again, it would not only be very impressive, but of course with the Gen 4s it might be a little bit more challenging. We're going at a speed right now of 200 miles an hour, and a little bit more so for some, 200 and change as we cross the start-finish line. Lap 3 gets going. So let's talk a little bit more about why we're here in Talladega and why we're using the Gen 4s. The IORA Cup Series has never used the Gen 4 in premier competition. Matter of fact, you'd have to look back several years for even an exhibition race with this car track combination. Having to go back to 2022. We'll turn the page a little bit beforehand, however. 2021, the first ever running of the IDK Player MWP 500, and that night a 1,000 prize, of course a $1,000 prize, was offered to whoever would be your race winner. Contact is going to be a hook up and down the track to 71. Does he save it? It looks like everyone keeps it going, but a late spin in the pack brings out the caution for the first time. Yellow flag is out. Patrick Combs, among others, goes spinning, and it began with Dominic Barbagallo getting turned. Then he spun, and the rest gave way to that massive chain reaction. Cautions out for the first time tonight. And it looked like maybe he would have saved it with Barbagallo bobbled in from Trevor Huff to Jim Thurston. Then coming up the track, gets in, the number 71 does, to the number 88 of Vincent Guecci. Then up the track, that's going to collect both Duffus and Patrick Combs. And as they go around sliding, it's going to be more casualties of the incident. Horrible wreck for all those involved. Barbagallo getting a major hit. And of course, you saw Vincent Guecci right there, it looked like. And he's going to find himself at the tail end of the pack with damage. Matter of fact, it looks like he has decided to take it down to pit road. So, yellow flag is out. He's going to be limping as we speak. Yellow flag for the first time tonight. Unfortunately, bringing us under caution rather quick here. Lap 4 of 75. So, won't be able to replicate what we saw before. Daniel Mosteller going to be in some big trouble as well. One fast repair for all drivers, so Demos will get that second chance, as will anyone else in the field, but it's not going to be a good time to use it so early with such a large amount of time ahead of us here. This could mean very little in the grand scheme of things, and another incident could pop up rather quick. As Henry Kaloff decides to stay out, Braden Mullick leads the rest of the field in, with Jim Thurston and Trevor Huff right beside him. It's an interesting call to see that Henry Kaloff decided to stay out. Meanwhile, everyone else in the field is going to descend upon pit road. You'll see there Trevor Huff. So let's find out who ends up leading and winning the race off. Henry Kaloff is already rolled away into turns 1 and 2. Meanwhile, starting to see some motion. One driver leading, that is, at the line, Braden Mullick. And he's with Devins Baker here. So Mullick gets moving, then Devins Baker, then Trevor Huff for 4th. And it looks like for P5 now, it's going to be screeching off the line, Christian Delgado, and he'll bring Palawada, Mirabelli, Combs, and then Jim Thurston. Looks like 10th place has not yet been decided, and it will be Vincent Guecci who gets off immediately after for the 10th spot. Henry Kaloff is the only driver who has decided to stay out, and we'll see how well that lasts in the coming laps. Of course, going to make that early call, a different one than most other drivers, but it looks like right now that's the playbook for early success. Kaloff will lead, and the rest of the field will still lie behind him. Braden Mullick is going to be the winner off of pit road here. Tires are not going to mean much of the difference tonight, but if there is something that will, it'll definitely come down to fuel strategy. So don't be surprised if drivers decide to come down and in just to top themselves off. Devins Baker took that strategy to the extremes when he decided to move up to 3rd place by only taking fuel. Some other drivers did take tire, but we do not have a limit tonight, so there is no incentive not to, so to speak. You don't have to compartmentalize. We're racing under slightly different rules, and so if you want to get out there on the circuit and you want to use tire, you don't want to, that is all your choice. And it looks like for Baker, he's going to benefit the most from staying out and then going down in only for tires, so he's going to decide to go for the most laid-back strategy of all and not put a lot of weight into longer pit stops. Mubik going to go for the more traditional route, and he brought with him Huff, Palawada, Mirabelli, Patrick Combs, Jim Thurston, and company further on back. There's Vincent Guecci and company, of course. You got Jim Thurston just alongside. And so we'll bring ourselves together again for lap number 6. Restart 1. Green flag going to fly lap 7 here. And Henry Kaloff is going to bow down to the bottom. It looks like the inside preferred by your starters tonight. Braden Mubik decides that he's got no choice now but to go up high in response. And hopefully that's going to work out for maybe a chance at keeping himself inside of the top 3, at least to open the night. It's a slow beginning here in the race for Mason 200, but back to the story at hand. The NWP 400, its first ever running in the summer of 21, was with this car track combination. $1,000 on the line for whoever won that race, and the man who ended up doing so was Mason Moriarty by just a few 1,000ths of a second. Came down to a photo finish in the final stretch, the tri-oval. Multiple drivers ahead of Mason wrecked, and Moriarty was able to get through clean and green. He finished that day with a race victory and came home $1,000 richer. Major victory for Mason Moriarty, his first in sim racing, and he's been on the platform ever since. Henry Kaloff going to be right there on the inside. Braden Mubik up top. Some of the drivers in this field were in that very race, including Jim Thurston and Braden Mubik, some of which were certainly watching at home as the IDK player community was big at the time, and many of these drivers got their start through casual racing on open lobbies. Now, league racing for some of these guys maybe took off sooner than later. Braden Mubik was with us in the opening seasons of IORA, as was Jim Thurston, and we've had some later additions turn veterans, including Henry Kaloff and Michael Deitch. Since that point, of course, we've gotten to IORA's 6th season, which is where we are today. The IORA Cup Series pace car is going to head down a pit road, giving the drivers another chance again to go at it for some green flag action. Everyone who took the green flag, all 17 of which, are still with us, and so we'll go racing again. It'll be restart number 1 on the night, led by Henry Kaloff, who's got himself down low, and Braden Mubik, who's going to be up top. Not the best start in the high side, though, and Henry's going to get the edge. Green flag's out for your first restart. Kaloff is going to lead him through. Up top, starting to see some moves get made up through turns 1 and 2. Connor Mirabelli in the number 88 and the 09 of Vincent Guecci. Those two drivers going to be the first to maybe shake the frame. Up top, you're going to see them go further. Braden Mubik is blocking, and he's already going to make it a block as if it's the last lap of this race. We're seeing very intense, very aggressive racing that characterizes these first few laps, and that's why we saw caution so quickly. Interesting to see the difference when drivers know that there is no points table on the line, and instead you race like it's the checkered flag each and every lap. Makes for exciting action, no doubt, but at the same time does not make it easy to keep things clean, and you might get yourself involved in an incident significantly quicker. At the line again for lap number 8 now. Braden Mubik's leading, and it looks like all that blocking got him in a good spot to take the overall top position. Jim Thurston going to be on his back end right now in the 096. He's going to be coming up with them, and he's got River Page working, so the Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport duo is up and ahead. Aaron Schugel is going to be watching on, and he's got his teammate for Kaloff, Deitch Racing, alongside him on the track from top to bottom. Thurston and Page are going to be blocking the front of the field, though. River right now leads in the blue and green, number 96, and then you got Jim Thurston right behind in the Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport paint scheme. So it looks like River may be taking on his team owner's number tonight. A little bit of a different look, and he's looking for some of that similar success. At the line, Braden Mubik is going to lead. We are 4 wide right now for the middle positions, and it looks like these drivers have no quit in them. It's going to be 3 wide even still, and when they're not 4 wide, they're definitely going to stay 3 wide. Down the back straightaway all over again. Trevor Huff on the bottom. Henry Kaloff right up high. It's a one-and-done event here tonight, so drivers understand the attitude is a little bit different. Don't have to worry about getting a league penalty or a points penalty. Anything of the sort does not apply because drivers know this is the one and only a chance to win in this event. So 200 miles, 75 laps might sound like a lot of time, but since we don't have much of field and it looks like Vincent Guecci, we might have just seen him disconnect due to internet troubles. Not the biggest field, and as a result, if you can stay with them, that's one thing. But being up in front and leading and controlling is a significant advantage, and it looks like right now the most desirable position is the first position. Leading the way is what everyone wants, and they're surely racing like that. Palawada with a little bit of right side damages all the way to tail of the pack. Vincent Guecci has once again connected as it looks like he's gotten some continued damages, and he's also going to be right there with Nathan, so we'll check on the back of the field very soon. Leaders are doing a pretty good job right now, sticking themselves side by side all over again. You've got, of course, Trevor Huff on the bottom, Braden Mubbock up top. Trevor Huff making his first IORA sanctioned start of the year. Good to see him coming over as part of the FTN community, not a driver you'd associate with IORA. And we mentioned it before, some of these drivers who are in the field tonight are getting a chance not because they're IORA Cup Series drivers by regular, but because they're part of the sim racing community at large. And luckily, that's one of the best things that came of this event with Mason involved. Hundreds, if not thousands of sim racers were aware of the circumstance and were able to spread the word through social media to assist in growing the fundraiser for Mason Moriarty and family. Thousands of dollars have been raised ever since that point, and it's a remarkable testament not only to the strength of IORA as a community, but sim racing as a whole. iRacing tends to be tight-knit when it comes to oval communities. There are a few thousand drivers that might know each other on a first-name basis, but you never know what it's like outside of the racing circuit until you put it to the test, and this was a moment where that truly was the case. Mason might not be the best known from some spheres. He might be much better known with drivers that you would know, like the drivers who are on your screen, but there are many other drivers all throughout iRacing who are not in similar spheres of racers, of leagues, of social, of course, media. They could be on different platforms, and this was one of those events that transcended that. Drivers were able to spread the word, and many all throughout iRacing were made aware that Mason was, of course, involved in a horrible incident. And luckily, with that support, we've been able to see that rapid recovery for Moriarty and his family. Surely it's a trying time, but these drivers have made a difference, and that's what matters most here. That's what we're out here racing for tonight, and these drivers are giving us a good showing as up at the front of the field, really split apart. You're only looking at about half the pack overall. 8 drivers, and Jim Thurston is going to make a move there with River Page ducking low to get with them. A second pack has formed about 5 seconds away with about 5 drivers. Vincent Guecci is 2 laps down now, so it looks like his internet troubles really have gotten the better of him. Tonight might not be his night, and we're hoping to see him come back next week in Darlington when the regular season competition continues. 3 wide once again, you got Jim Thurston and River Page on the high groove. Down low, it's still going to be the 81. That's going to be Michael Deitch. Michael tonight in the brand new number, a brand new look, and he's gotten himself back into the Gen 4 Chevrolet. We haven't seen him in it ever since season 16 of the Highline Racing League. Deitch is going to bobble down to the bottom 4 wide there for a brief moment, and that's because Connor Mirabelli was all the way up to the ceiling. Mirabelli's going to back down, give these drivers another breathing room, opportunity, just give some space, and then go at it again. You cannot expect to stay consistently 4 wide. In a situation like this, one has to give, and one has once again. Mirabelli has. He's going to find himself significantly further back in that 88. Meanwhile, Jim Thurston, he's up top there with River Page, and the Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport teammates are coming together once more. It is a surge on the high groove. 15 laps in at a 75. Here come the teammates at a speed of over 195 miles an hour. New race leader. Jim Thurston and River Page is going to stay right there with. They might not have a lot of drivers with them, only 2 compared to 3 in the middle, and it looks like now 5 on the bottom, but a little bit of assistance might be all they need to really become the powerhouse groove. And you can see there the 91 of Aaron Schugel swapping back and forth. If Thurston and River Page can get that run together once again, don't expect these drivers to fall all too far behind. This is going to be interesting now, seeing the 2-car tandem come into play. You can't run away in 2-car packs with the Gen 4. However, you can certainly create a whole lot of momentum if you use another driver correctly. Thurston this time is going to decide to back off. Let River Page do a little bit more of the aggressive moves up in front, and he'll decide to come with in just about a lap's time. It's going to be this back and forth cycle that really changes the game, and that's what someone like Braden Movick has to look out for in his rearview mirror here. Might not be immediately apparent, but there is a threat now for the race lead. Changing grooves will be that threat. Tonight, since long-term strategy should not come in the form of tires or fuel, is really going to come down to how you use the track. Can you make use of multiple grooves properly, like the higher bottom? Drivers have been able to use the ceiling. Drivers have made the inside work as well. Braden Movick right now sounds like he's in a bad spot. You can see him losing a few of that rev power. He's going to slow down and fall back in line. That's not a good place to be in the middle. And when you end up right between 2 drivers, you get suckered down and in, losing spots rapidly, and the high side worked once more. That's going to bring Henry Kaloff all the way up front on the bottom. Trevor Huff is going to be up top, up high with the race lead now. Meanwhile, Braden Movick now finds himself boxed in. Might be temporary, but it's not going to be easy to get out of. It's 3 wide again. Michael Deitch door banging with Aaron Schugel. Up top the track goes Aaron once again. Real tight now as Schugel is going to get bounced out of the way, and he just barely gets away without a major issue. And that's what these drivers have to be careful with. You cannot expect to make contact and survive. In most circumstances, that would have been a full-on incident. Luckily, cooler heads prevail there. Michael Deitch and Aaron Schugel back off at the same time. But on the last lap, 5 laps to go, maybe even 10 laps to go if we take it back a little bit more. So that would have been a wreck with no drivers trying to give up anything. It's all about taking the late form. But right now, we're still less than a quarter of the way into this event. Less than a third of the way, that is. And there's no reason to be so aggressive unless there's something on the line, which tonight, nothing besides the checkered flag is of any importance for the field. 3 wide, they'll split Braden Movick once again. Trevor Huff will send himself down to the inside and take the race lead himself. Henry Kaloff and Trevor Huff are going to lead, and they've been working with each other quite well all throughout the night. Both of them championship contenders in the SRL Cup Series. Henry Kaloff this season coming away with 2nd in the championship in the Schumacher Racing League, and so he's one of those drivers who has the experience in being versatile. Their championship format, which is Sunday nights on FTN, mind you, it's a little bit different than most others. It is a playoff system, but it is not the traditional multi-race, multi-driver elimination strategy that most leagues decide to use. Instead, it comes down to almost NCAA March Madness seeding, in which drivers are seeded against each other from 1st all the way down to 16th, and as a result, you've got drivers going head-to-head with one another rather than fighting for the championship in a batch. So Kaloff was able to contest against multiple drivers directly and beat them in various rounds to get to the Final Four. And that Final Four, he was one of the members involved and came home 2nd in the championship to eventual title winner Sean Rowe. So tonight, maybe looking for a little bit of redemption in victory lane. He's got a very familiar driver up on his inside as well. You got the number 14 on the high side, Devins Baker. Baker's looking pretty good so far, coming back into the IORA fold just 2 weeks ago. Devins has returned, and done so pretty strong so far. Look to have top 10 pace at Talladega in our Xfinity Series event, of course, with the Xfinity cars, and now it looks like he's making sure that's not a fluke. Up and ahead again, side by side with Kaloff, and he's pushing your race leader, at least for a brief moment there, in Braden Movick. However, now Jim Thurston gets the job, and Devin Baker decides to take it up high with not a lot of help. This pack is very much small now. 12 drivers in it, going back to Daniel Mosteller, so it's very few company, and the 87 of Mosteller is the last man of which that we have focused on all night long. Demos has been in this grouping, hasn't done anything of note just yet, but watch out for the 87. When we last went racing in the Cup Series, it was, of course, Demos who got the job done for his 4th win of the season. Daniel Mosteller has been dominant so far in IORA competition, and the 2-time champion, the most decorated driver in all of IORA, looks to have his sights set on going for his 3rd title. Tonight might not have much importance, but once again, just shaking off the dust from Superspeedway Racing and showing exactly what he's got. He's proven time and again to be one of the Superspeedway aces on the platform, and tonight is no exception. However, Daniel Mosteller has decided to play it quiet so far. Maybe an incident will wake him up, but right now, it looks like it's all about prioritizing getting to the checkered flag rather than showing that he'll be there at the very end. He's in the tow, he's got the draft, nothing to be worried about when you think about it that way, and now that the field is whittled down that much more, you're almost guaranteed to have top 10 placement as Daniel Mosteller drifts big. Keeps it together all the way at the wall, but he's going to make some contact. Demos is now going to fall back ever so slightly. Right side damage, minor, if any. He'll keep on going here, and Devin Baker is going to lead the way. He's there on the bottom, and he's going to have to lead Daniel Mosteller right back into the pack. So Demo's going to take a little bit of a risk there. Luckily, it isn't anything too crazy. He got up by the wall and maybe rubbed it up just a bit, but it's enough to stay with the pack, and that's not damage that is going to have any significant long-term issue. Braden Movick, however, here with Jim Thurston, really doesn't know what to make of it. He's got Trevor Huff now on his back bumper, and Huff seems to have a pretty strong connection now with, of course, Henry Kaloff. They've stayed together for the most part. Up the track goes River Page. Page shot up high there by Braden Movick. Demos now going to decide to stay back, but Jim Thurston's going to block his teammate and block Braden Movick. It's going to be a little bit of bumper-to-bumper contact, and you can't make that last for long, or you're going to get sent right over. So both drivers have to back off immediately, and the teammates are now going to find themselves in a do-or-die situation. Getting out of this bind would mean that they have to pull forward. They don't want to make any contact with Aaron Schugel, and so Schugel drops back. It looks like now Jim Thurston is ahead of Braden Movick. Braden racing rather close there to River Page, but once again, no dice. Everything stays the same. Coming up on lap number 25 now. First third of the way has been completed with only one caution, and reminder on strategy. We are not going to see our 80% fuel cap tonight, and so drivers can go maybe a little bit longer on this stint. Expect maybe 10 to 15 more laps, if not more so. We might see drivers decide to split it 50-50 or to go longer. They can go up to 20 more laps without having any concern. So we'll see whether or not that is the choice that drivers choose to make, because right now choices are being made on the racetrack rather quickly, and drivers, of course, I'm hoping are not making erratic decisions as Thurston weaves and bobs once again. And while exciting, this is when it becomes a little bit antsy throughout the field. Trevor Huff and company, he's there with Jim Thurston, side by side yet again. These two drivers have kept each other company in the Schumacher Racing League as well. Jim Thurston won the regular season championship in SRL, but did not go full-time throughout the playoff picture. Nevertheless, he made his mark as it's going to be contact! Braden Movick and the entire field go around. Movick and a smokescreen behind him. Jim Thurston involved. Devin Baker gonna get in as well. Yellow flag. It will fly for the second time tonight. Huge incident, and a front runner in Movick is the first man we saw turned. Let's take a look back. Restart number 2 coming soon, and of course first, you have the caution. Looks like River Page and Braden Movick got into each other, and the rest, as you can see, just a chain reaction. Movick into Schugel. quickly into Christian Delgado, Devins Baker, Daniel Mosteller, looks like he made it out. And then Dominic Barbagallo, that's going to get Connor Mirabelli. Michael Deitch is going to avoid damage by a hair. What a recovery for both Demos and Michael Deitch. It looks like both of which got away just barely by the skin of their teeth. Take a look on board here with Demos and see exactly how he did it. Just staying in the middle, letting the car do the work, and not panicking. Wonderful job there from Mosteller. As for Michael Deitch, looks like very similar process, but he nearly got caught up in it, and that's where his concern must have been. Almost making some front-end contact and T-boning Connor Mirabelli, among others. So close to contact. And a perfect stop for Michael Deitch is the difference between a hit and a miss. And in this case, a miss is a pretty good thing. As drivers now put themselves back together, Daniel Mosteller's going in, and company with them will be led by Jim Thurston. It'll be Thurston, Huff, then after Henry Kaloff, Christian Delgado, Daniel Mosteller. One driver going to bobble out, and it looks like that might have just been Dominic Barbagallo. So Dom is going to have some trouble here as the 71 Pepto-Bismol Ford Taurus misses pit road entry. That's going to be a penalty and should cost some time, although we're under yellow here, so it might not be all too major. Meanwhile, drivers are getting on their way. We have Trevor Huff now, who's the leader on pit road. We'll see if he's the winner of the race off. It looks like he will not be. Henry Kaloff will beat him. Kaloff. Then it'll be Trevor Huff. And immediately after those two, you're going to have Dominic Barbagallo still getting on his way. So it looks like Barb will not be given the penalty as it happens under yellow. Immediately after the fact, you've got the rookie Patrick Combs. And it looks like following him, it will be another rookie. And that's the 61. Enter now Tegan Fox. Driver swap. Leroy Roseberry not driving. Tegan Fox is in. So tonight going to see one driver swap as the 61 has Fox behind the wheel. Then you got after that Palawada, Thurston, Schugel, and Daniel Mosteller who round out the top 10 as we take a look back up front again. Waymar Duffus is the new race leader, and then you got Henry Kaloff, P2. Duffus making a first career start in the Sour Patch Kids number 45. Interesting to see. The new drivers have done pretty well so far. Tegan Fox getting that first chance, as is Duffus. Not to mention, if you look a little bit further back throughout the field, you previously saw Christian Delgado. Delgado not all too experienced. Moreover, we've also got 29. Patrick Combs. 28 laps in at a 75 here. The race for Mason 200 has gotten off to a wonderful start. Second yellow flag of the day, and we are nearing our halfway point. With this yellow flag behind us, it's going to be close on fuel, going to be very close on tire. Tire doesn't matter all too much. It's the fuel number, though, that particularly interests us. Drivers can go up to 35 laps comfortably, up to 40 laps, maybe, if done right when it comes to fuel saving. Looks like right now a few other drivers decide to go in. These are the holdouts from the previous pit cycle. And so Duffus comes through, going to bring with Trevor Huff and company, such as Jim Thurston and Daniel Mosteller. So not just the holdouts, but some drivers now looking to go for a little bit of a top-up in strategy. And that will bring Henry Kaloff back to the front of the field. Only two retirees so far tonight. Connor Mirabelli, the most recent of which after that last wreck. He is 3 laps down as it stands. And then you've got 14th place Vincent Guecci. Well, he was 14th. Now 17th. So, 16th, 17th, retirees. P15, as it stands, Christian Delgado. .9 laps in at a 75. Here we go again. Time for your second restart with Kaloff and Dominic Barbagallo going. In addition, Aaron Schugel, Michael Deitch, River Page, and then Trevor Huff. Top 5 in the 66 again, he finds himself 6th. Your pole sitter having a strong race so far. His highs and lows, most of which have been inside the top 10. All of which have, as a matter of fact. Leading the way to win this race as high as 1st, currently finds himself in P6 and a low of 8th place. 29 laps in out of 75, and Connor's looking to go back at it again up in front if, of course, connection prevails. It looks like internet has been the trouble, and that's what we're hearing happen first for Vincent Guecci, and talking about both retirees signals the big difficulty. Every driver has one faster pair, most of which have not used it. Trevor Huff is one of those who so far has been able to keep things clean. A few drivers, though, up in front have not. Barbagallo, Schugel, Deitch, and it looks like with them as well, River Page. They've already used that faster pair at least once. Henry Kaloff is ready to get going again, and he's going to bring the field to green. Back on the front row, the 63 is, and Barbagallo from damage and difficulty is up on the front row too. Green flags out for lap 30. Aaron Schugel takes the race lead, gonna jump out through the first few corners, and it looks like momentum prevails for the 91. Furthermore, you got Henry Kaloff, Aaron Schugel, Michael Deitch now coming through. What's gonna happen now as we go single file? That's the big question here, as it looks like for the first time tonight, drivers have decided not to go aggressive. So Jim Thurston here going to find himself actually making up this second pack. A little bit of a blip. 31 laps in at a 75. Aaron Schugel and company going to keep the lead. Take a look on board now with the 91. Henry Kaloff now going to look down to the bottom, and it looks like Schugel placed out of line. That's the difference between side-by-side racing, and of course now the number 63 of Henry Kaloff is going to shove through to get to the inside. Contact there, and it's going to be Jim Thurston. Thurston rather aggressive, and 3 wide we go again. Side-by-side, a little bit more trouble, and it's going to be number 81 going down to the inside, but he can't get there quick enough. Trevor Huff's going to slide through once more. The 81 of Michael Deitch, he's got himself going through up to the high side, almost got slotted in 4 wide, and so now we got ourselves a little bit of trouble as the number 14 of Devins Baker goes through as well. Inside line going to be used predominantly, leader Henry Kaloff. So it'll be Kaloff and then River Page. Looks like Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsports split up for the first time tonight. Trevor, of course, finding himself a little bit further back, but he's going to be ahead of Jim Thurston right now, and not of Jim Thurston, of course, his teammate in River Page. Both of which running variations of the 96 tonight, and River Page going to get himself the number 96, as you can see on your screen. Thurston, 096, but a very familiar look nonetheless, and both of which former champions racing with each other all over again. 33 laps in at a 75, a little bit of a different approach from aggressive racing to single file action, and this is when drivers get into line and get things going. Up top, There goes Jim Thurston. Looks like he's going to slot out of line as his teammate goes right there, weaving and bobbing, both of which are nearly out of control, just in different ways there. It looks like Christian Delgado trying to find something. He can't get there. And as such, Christian's going to find himself having to lie back and wait. Can't get on the throttle when a driver ahead of you is out of control. We talk about how the Gen 4s are different from the Super Speedway package of the Xfinity car, and here's why. When you're looking from the front end right now of, say, for instance, River Page, Devins Baker is right ahead, and on his back bumper, it's a little bit of a curve, and there's not a lot to protect the rear wheels from being hit by the front end of another driver. Here's a close-up with someone who's further up in the field. If the driver we're riding on board with here, and as you can see, that's going to be Nathan Palawada. If Nathan were to hit the 45 ahead of him, he would lift the 45 into the air and send him spinning. By default, you can get right under the back end of the cars by using the noses, and that means that there's significant trouble in, of course, trying to push, trying to use the super speedway speed to make bump drafting work. You cannot bump draft in these cars or you're going to end up spinning them out. So what drivers end up doing as a resolve, or of course as a result to try to keep things together, is to use air drafting, letting the air push the drivers forward, and that's all you can hope for if you cannot use contact-based drafting. And that's why right now there's a lot of room, once again, for these drivers to try to make something happen without using a lot of that physical contact. And if you end up loose, you got to get out of the way for your own sake, as you saw there, Braden Mubbock voluntarily taking himself out of line, and a new race leader, Daniel Mosteller. For those of you who were not watching last week, you got to remember this as well. The driver of the number 87, not only was he able to collect the checkered flag last night, but he was also, of course, able to get the regular season championship in our most recent race. He and Aiden Walker went in toe-to-toe, and it was a winner-take-all. In essence, if he was able to win, Daniel Mosteller, he would collect the regular season title. But if Aiden Walker were to win, he would collect the regular season title. Walker, with less than 20 laps to go, he was unfortunately involved in an incident, much like what you're seeing now. Henry Kaloff slides up the track. A few other drivers, including Barbagallo, go. Yellow flag is not out yet. Kaloff is still sliding. The call has not been made. Nevertheless, incident. Henry Kaloff involved, and we're going to take a look back to show you as the caution, it is out. Here's an instant replay, and let's figure out what just caused it. It just looked like Kaloff was turned around, and that's where the issue begins. Henry Kaloff in the 63 turned, and that's where things got hectic. Luckily, it looks like minimal damage, if any. Trevor Huff right here, look, he was pushing hard, and this is the difference between air pushing and physical contact. Contact, and Mosteller hit, but maybe Kaloff wasn't quite clear. Dominic Barbagallo additionally goes sliding, and it looks like Dom involved in another incident as he gets in the grass. Daniel Mosteller also slides here. Luckily, he is not hit. Caution's out, and it's going to be a little bit more trouble than we'd like. Third caution of the day, and the halfway point has been reached. Kaloff should be fine. Take a look on board for a little bit more of that proof of which. Front end damage, minimal if any. And you can see he slid all the way down to the inside of the track and luckily was able to keep it in one piece. Braden Mubbock, your race leader. So with that little bit of a shuffle, Jim Thurston is also in the grass here. Looks like cutting some distance to get back up with the leaders, and that's River Page as well. River's still sliding. Thurston put it back together. Going down to pit road, that looks to be the goal here for most drivers, and if they go down this time, they'll make it to the end of the race. Won't be ideal, but this does guarantee you can make it the rest of the way. Page side by side with his teammate there, and they went in rather aggressive, both of which. River Page a little more so, you saw him smoking up the tires. So, pit road ready again for some action here in the race for Mason 200. Oh, Jim Thurston goes off the circuit, back into the grass. And I'm not sure if they're going to hand him the penalty, but nonetheless, Jim Thurston now having major issues on pit road. The rest of the field is going to try to put things together. Meanwhile, he's still burning down the house. Braden Movick, as soon as Thurston got into his stall, he left. Braden wins the race off pit road by a convincing margin, and it looks like he decided maybe just to go for only tire. After him, Trevor Huff and Nathan Palawada is going to come out rather quickly after the fact. Then you've got the number 45 coming through of Waymar Duffus, and then immediately after, the 29, and that will be Patrick Combs. Time to go racing once again, and it'll be lap number 41 when we go green as we take a look back to your live feed. Race leader Braden Movick, and it looks like the 42 back in good spirits. He's the winner off pit road, shall we say. Question mark on Devins Baker as to whether or not he'll stay out. Baker in the number 14 getting his first chance to lead all night long. Highs and lows for Baker, he's been all around the track. As low as 16th tonight, so he's been almost down to the bottom of the order, and he's back on top. Started in 11th, previously a high of 3rd. This will be if he decides to stay out. The first lap he leads all night long. So we'll see if Devins is confident here. He's on an 11-lap stint. Doesn't have to go down to pit road. Most likely be ideal nonetheless. And so, he'll make that decision here, whether or not he wants to go out and in, all up to his choice. As the number 14 is going to say hello to the inside, we'll see if he decides to go for certain or if he will stay out. For Baker, choice is stay with the field, remain on track. So, Devins is going to stay with us here, and he will be your race leader for restart number 3, as we are set to go racing momentarily. And it's going to be the number 14 once again on top. On top of the board, shall we say. He decides to go again to the bottom. The inside has been preferable most of the night for drivers who have led the way. Baker, Movick, Trevor Huff, Nathan Palawada. The 1, 2, 3, 4 combo at the head of the field here, 40 laps in. Getting rather close now to the tail end of the race if you think about it. First half came and went. A little bit of yellow flag action just to kick things off. And now the problem becomes, how are these drivers going to manage the second half? A little bit more aggression? Will they decide to maybe become less aggressive? We saw some single file racing in the previous stint. Now we're at an impasse. Will drivers decide to risk it? Or will we see a little bit more of that calm action that brought us this far to begin with? You're watching the Race for Mason 200 live on FTN Broadcasting. A few quick reminders before we keep things going here. If you enjoy the stream, make sure to like, of course, subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. And if you give a super chat tonight, that will be donated to our GoFundMe in support of Mason Moriarty and family. So if you'd like to donate, either the GoFundMe link that we have provided, or you could super chat. The choice is yours. All proceeds will be donated to Mason Moriarty and his family. 40 laps in at a 75. You're watching the IORA Cup Series, and tonight, as always on a Thursday night, the IORA Cup Series is the place to be to kick off your late Thursdays. Highline Racing League has you covered a little bit later. They'll have you covered in about a half an hour. We're getting very close to the green flag time for our Thursday night tour doubleheader. The second race begins at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and we will go intermediate racing once again. The track of choice, Texas Motor Speedway. So, we're going down to the Lone Star State very soon, but first we got to finish our trip here in Alabama. And the driver who's going to lead us back to work here, it'll be none other than Devins Baker in the number 14. Baker's going to lead things off, and he's going to have Braden Movick and Trevor Huff with them. Inside line is stacked deep, and the 14 has the green flag. Let's go racing again. Devins Baker, for the first time tonight, is your race leader for lap number 41 of 75. Baker and Movick remain side by side, very similar to how we started this restart. Looks like no major changes. River Page, though, swaps down to the inside on his own, goes down to the apron. Not quite sure why he would do that here. He's got really nobody else to work with. He'll block Daniel Mosteller. Maybe now just trying to form a line and get things going for the long term. Maybe in a few laps time here, he can get back up to the front of the field, but certainly not where he'd like to be, about a second off of the lead pack and not in contention in the slightest. At the line, though, Braden Movick will barely surpass Devins Baker. Weaving up top, Aaron Schugel then descends to the bottom and back and forth again. Looks like a lot of drivers in the back of the field not too concerned with being the quickest driver, knowing the draft is going to save them here. But River Page, not so much. He's about the opposite. He did exactly what we expected, and he's going to propel himself up to the front of the field here. And he's going to do so slowly but surely, but the plot begins now. He's back with the pack, got himself ahead of Daniel Mosteller, now working side by side again with Aaron Schugel. A lap or two does make the difference when you're only a second behind the field, and Jim Thurston's going to test that theory himself. Thurston now finds himself behind his teammate, and while the 96 now gets going, the 096 will be the next up. Jim Thurston is going to see his teammate go high. Daniel Mosteller does not decide to go and help out River Page so far. Looks like instead he'll leave him out to dry. Hopefully something comes of that for River, but right now, really no guarantees. Braden Movick getting pushed by Dominic Barbagallo. So far, Dom has been involved in a few incidents, some of which not his fault, some of which he's been involved in more directly, so it's hard to say whether or not he's got the stuff to go the distance tonight. Race victory speed, yes, he might have it, but does he have the strategy, and can he move in this field when it matters most? Being well adapted to the racing surface and environment is about as important as it comes here in Talladega. Maybe a little bit more important, in fact, than anything else. And so far, for Dominic Barbagallo, while he's had troubles, and he's had a few of which, it might be the most ironic thing that him adapting from the struggles is the most impressive part. You don't want to get involved in cautions consistently. Admittedly, Barbagallo's been involved in multiple of them so far, but he's been able to pick himself back up where he left off and bring himself up even further each and every time to this point. So maybe he's got the stuff, even if he struggled so far to show it. It just takes the perfect breaking out point where everything goes just right to show that can happen. And he's still going to be pushing. Barbagallo there with Braden Movick. Meanwhile, you got up on the high side Nathan Palawada and Henry Kaloff. Henry's going to find himself up top, and he's got with them multiple drivers here. Looks like a gaggle of four. Devins Baker's no longer the race leader. He's let the field more so take control once again. Devins has decided to become a little bit more of an observer. Maybe not passive per se, but he certainly has decided not to play the role of being the hard charger. Let the pack do the work for you and get you to the very end. 45 laps in at a 75, we have ourselves some 30 laps to go after this marker. So we certainly still have a lot of time remaining. It just becomes a question of how you use it. Devins Baker right now has decided to get away from the troubles ahead because it might be worse for him to get involved while being in front than anything else. Play it safe, and that's how you get to victory lane here. That's his mentality up in front. Baker and company, well, of course, Movick and such, I think they've got a different idea. I think their goal right now, of course, is just stay in front. That's where you want to be. That's where you need to be. You do not want to lose that track position. Racing down the back straight again. 3 wide, 4 layers deep. Baker's going to stay behind. No rookie in, of course, 29. Patrick Combs, he's also there. Side by side, slicing up and down the circuit. Well, that's been the name of the game for most, but it looks like another driver who's played it quiet has gotten the race lead again. Enter the number 45, Weimar Duffus, a driver who has been basically out of the picture besides alternate strategy calls. Now it looks like, even though he's been a little bit different today, back on the same strategy as everyone else and doesn't have to worry about anything alternative. The 45 will be clean to go the rest of the way. Jim Thurston's coming through. 65 Trevor Huff is, and of course you got Braden Movick still up and ahead. Single file led by Movick here. That's going to change, and then they split off. Single file hasn't lasted long tonight. Seen some drivers trying to maintain the lead, but you've seen Xfinity cars, you've seen the next-gen cars, you've seen the Gen 4s. It doesn't matter what car it is. It usually matters, yes, what track it is, but the drivers tend to show one big trait. They can't be patient. They simply cannot be at these super speedways. It's hard to be, for good reason. You're so quick, you want to do something about it, and that leads these drivers to go quickly and try to push throughout the circuit without regard for anything else. Sometimes it's better to be patient and get through these laps, log them, then go the rest of the way. It's not fun, though, and I think that's where drivers are looking for the fun aspect right now. Not easy for it to be fun, but it's a challenge that most drivers find enjoyable, and so difficulty has some positive benefits to it. Playing around safe and just running in line is not an enjoyable thing at all either. So I think right now, drivers have to consider this. It's the balance between the fun, the balance between the simplicity, and the balance between going 4 wide through turns 3 and 4. Well, somebody's got to give eventually, but it hasn't happened yet. We are still 4 wide coming across the start-finish line, the tri-oval, and Trevor Huff is the man that gives. Henry Kaloff, new race leader, now 48 laps in, out of 75. Getting closer now to the 2/3 marker, and drivers have been remarkably clean for the majority of this event. Only 3 cautions to this point. The end goal now is pull it home from here with some more excitement and less delays in between. Live on FTN, iRacing.com is the leading simulator platform globally. Doesn't matter what you're talking about, stock car racing, road course events, dirt tracks, anything in between, from the modern classics to the brand new racing. Anything in between, anything goes on iRacing.com. And visit iRacing.com/Black Friday for 50% off all new memberships and 25% off early renewals and reactivations. We'd love for you to check out iRacing and start your sim racing career today. That's now with 26 laps to go. We'll be right back after a word from our friends at iRacing.com. You're watching the IORA Cup Series and the Race for Mason 200.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Coming back to the action now, 25 laps to go here in Talladega. You're watching the IORA Cup Series, and there's contact. Daniel Monsteller, Devin Baker sliding into each other, and the caution will fly. The 87 of Monsteller goes around, and so we got ourselves our 4th incident of the night. Caution flies, and so we'll be pacing once again. Massive hit there for Daniel Monsteller. Only good news is it was on the back end of the car and shouldn't prove to be major. Damage-wise anyway, it should be very easily reparable, and he'll be back on the way quickly. But for Demos, regardless, track position is going to be lost and fast. I mean, you could see sliding through the grass, not a good thing to begin with. Let's see exactly what happened to bring us to that point. Daniel Monsteller was 3 wide here with Devin Baker and Braden Movick, and it looked like maybe Baker and Movick. Baker came down on Daniel Monsteller, and that's what sent both Schugel and Demos into the grass. Monsteller spins, Baker ends up there as well, and Aaron Schugel eventually gets out of it. Tires are damaged, cars are not. will be able to keep on going with 24 laps to go, and the field will continue on with minimal issue, if any. Daniel Mosteller, Aaron Schugel, and Devins Baker involved in this wreck, and we'll go once again with about 21 laps to go. Next time we are green. So the caution's out, and we'll get ready to go racing very soon. Luckily, most drivers involved in that last wreck will be able to continue with minimal issue. Henry Kaloff sees his teammate Michael Deitch not too far behind. Kaloff-Deitch Racing has been making some major moves as of late, and we talked about second in the championship for the Schumacher Racing League expansion, joining forces with Jackson Fuamano Racing. Now it looks like tonight they have been the team up in front, a two-car duo that has been more predictable anyway. Someone like River Page or Jim Thurston. 63 is up and advantageous once again. Taking a look at Henry Kaloff right here, about 15/100ths of a second up on Trevor Huff, and that's just because they're pacing right now. We'll go back green with what looks to be 21 laps to go, and the end goal from here on out, of course, is fine victory lane. Home stretch in this event is going to bring you to the Highline Racing League very soon, so stay tuned as we're getting set for our second race to begin. By about the time our first race concludes, back-to-back racing on FTN. I'm going to cover you with motorsports action all night long. And to begin with some Superspeedway racing, Henry Kaloff knows his way around the Superspeedway well. SNT Season 5 Talladega winner, and we've got some Talladega winners all throughout the field. Unfortunately, drivers like Vinny Tigner, who registered, were not able to race tonight. Vinny, a driver who was won an SNT as well at Talladega. Tonight, though, with the Gen 4s, very few drivers here have league racing experience in this combination. One of the few that does is Michael Deitch. He finds himself in fourth right now, and a few other drivers who have done it at least once or twice, including those who have raced in the MWP 400, as did Mason Moriarty in the summer of 2021. So we'll be heading green next time by. It'll be one lap to green, and the field is going to be led again by Henry Kaloff. It looks like most drivers have decided to choose the inside once they are in control, and it looks like that's going to be the goal again for the Kaloff crew, getting the chance to decide this time by. Henry's going to be looking down at the bottom. Trevor Huff is going to be looking up top most likely, although he might actually decide to stay with the 63 here. Reminder, Trevor Huff, one of the drivers who was previously with Jackson Fuamano Racing, their sim racing division is due to shut down, and it will be Henry Kaloff and Michael Deitch who are acquiring that platform, so Huff tonight has the ample incentive in working with the number 63. Maybe some of that work with means that he's going to seal out the second row, while Henry Kaloff decides to take it down low to the inside. So teamwork makes the dream work, and they will have both lines all to themselves. Michael Deitch additionally is inside the top 5 right now, so a real good spot to be in if you're talking about KDR and the teammates now rubbing against one another. Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport also now a group of teammates in the second row. Nathan Palawada, who's been the quietest of the PSISM guys, and Jim Thurston, the flagship driver of the team. A little bit of contact there from teammate Aaron Schugel. Schugel going to fade back once more. 15 drivers on the lead lap. Leader of which, still Henry Kaloff. Henry, Trevor Huff, Nathan Palawada, Michael Deitch, and Dominic Barbagallo, your top 5 with 22 laps to go. Mason Moriarty, one of the biggest fans we know of Joey Logano, who just won the NASCAR Cup Series Championship. Chase Schaefer, you might have noticed, registered tonight, but did not in his usual 99, but instead came in with the number 22. So, looks like a little bit of contact in the back. Might be seeing some trouble brew between Jim Thurston and Braden Movick. And yeah, that looks to be exactly what's going on here, or rather, River Page. While Thurston's looking back, you might see some contact now. Aaron Schugel and River Page going back and forth, although it looks to be nothing too serious right now if you look at it. Contact, once again, we'll get back in order and go racing, hopefully, and this time we'll keep it green. As always, with our friends at TrackCams22.com, they provided all of the angles tonight, cars and tracks alike. Visit TrackCams22.com for additional information on iRacing's leading camera providers. As always, TrackCams22.com or Facebook.com/TrackCams, the best place to go if you'd like to learn more about sim racing's best option for cameras. The best broadcasters choose them for a good reason. Nowhere else are there quality broadcast style cameras on the sim racing market. With 22 laps to go, going to 21 remaining, let's crank it up in Talladega, courtesy of our friends at TrackCams22.com. Dominic Barbagallo, against all odds, is leader once again. 17 laps to go here in Talladega, and it looks like the number 71, despite previous setbacks and misfortune, is again on top of the pack. With him, he's got Nathan Palawada, Braden Movick, Daniel Mosteller, Henry Kaloff, all of which now who have come together once more in the final stretch of this race. 16 laps to go coming up next here, and like it or not, these drivers don't have a lot of time to seal the deal. The checkered flag is ahead of them very soon, and the question becomes whether or not they've got the stuff to go all the way. Braden Movick now going to dive to the inside groove. He's got himself all the way down low. With them, it's going to be Barbagallo and Demos again. Side by side, working at each other, door banging. That's what we've seen for the majority of the night. But again, you're going to see clear separations. Not going to try to initiate any contact now, knowing that any incident could send us deep into the night. That's, of course, what we would love to avoid here, just keeping it green and getting to the finish. Then, fighting hard on that last lap. White flag is final. It means that if we get to that point, nothing else can happen to extend or change the race length. Anything else under green still has the potential to do so as we bang doors once again. Demos is there with Braden Movick, and once again, they're taking tosses and turns, jabbing once again. Braden Movick here's got to find a way out if he wants any chance at solidifying that victory. I think now it's becoming more evident than ever. Braden Movick is still, at long last, an outsider here in the IORA Cup Series, and the outsiders have most often gotten swallowed up at the tail ends of these races. Someone like Dominic Barbagallo or Trevor Huff, unlikely they're going to find the same support around them as someone like Henry Kaloff or Michael Deitch or someone like Aaron Schugel. Or maybe we look back and you see someone like Daniel Mosteller or Jim Thurston. What will the drivers who are veterans here do about the drivers they don't know? Beating and banging again, Daniel Mosteller slides, and with the multiple of the drivers go. Yellow flags out, Demos comes up the track, Braden Movick wrecks. Caution is out again. Yellow flag will fly, and it looks like Braden Movick and company end up banging doors. Braden into Jim Thurston, into Trevor Huff. Movick comes up the track. Huge hit and a barrel roll. Movick goes for a 360 flip with 14 laps to go and lands on all fours. That might be the only positive that comes from it. Braden Movick does land, and he does so pretty nicely. Take a look as he goes up for his flip, and Braden perfectly sealed at the very end. Nice landing for the Movick team, but of course it means again he'll lose a lot of track position, and Braden already has seen himself use that fast repair. Might be a race-ending wreck we just saw for the driver, the 42, Braden Movick. 13 laps to go. The drivers are limping to get back to the iRacing official pace car. Trevor Huff is going to be scored as your net race leader. Then you got Daniel Mosteller. A few other drivers are still going to be with, and there's River Page, and Page just spun. Here comes Nathan Palawana as well. With a baker's dozen left to do it, we are now 63 laps into your main event here in Talladega. So, a few other notes to keep in mind as we head toward the final laps of this race. Any caution with less than 5 laps to go will extend the race length by at least 1 lap. As a result, these drivers are going to have to figure something out here in the next 8 or so laps that will get them the rest of the way. If we have a yellow flag from here until the 5 lap to go point, the race will not extend. However, it's going to be pretty unlikely that we get through with a long green flag stint, in which case we might even see another yellow flag come through, which means cautions breeding cautions could breed an overtime. Overtime attempts, we have 3 of which. As a result, it's going to be pretty tricky now for drivers to get into a rhythm, but if they do so, we could go the rest of the way without caution. As the pace car's lights are still on, 2 laps to green. So we'll take a little bit of time to step away, courtesy of our FTN partners and associates. Once again, you're watching the Race for Mason 200, and if you would like to donate to support the cause for Mason Moriarty and family, make sure, of course, to click the link that's pinned in our chat room tonight, or send a super chat over. All proceeds will be donated to Mason Moriarty, and course, his family and to ensure his recovery after his most recent motorcycle accident. We're grateful to have Mason Moriarty with us and can't wait to have him back on the track. You're watching the race for Mason 200. With 12 laps to go, we'll return after a few messages from our FTN partners and associates.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
11 laps remaining, and now it's time to go racing once again. Talladega, green flag racing, hopefully that's where we ended. It comes down to this, a final stint of only 10 laps at most. Anything else from here, well, we might just see a green-white checkered finish, and that's when the trouble becomes even more evident. 11 laps remaining, and if we go back under yellow, we'll have about 5 laps remaining. Cautions have been slow and steady, and they've given Trevor Huff, your pole sitter, the lead once again. Opportunity for Huff here, of course, pretty clear. Victory lane might just be his if he works things out right. Nathan Palawada also going to be with. And you got Daniel Mosteller third, and the fourth place driver, Weimar Duffus, the rookie in the 45. Rookies have been in control for the majority of the night, if you think about individually speaking. But now, do they have the trust to make it work out? They haven't been, of course, well regarded simply because they don't have much of a reputation to begin with. Do you help out the unknown drivers? Or right now, does it become more about helping out the drivers that you know? Knowledge is power, and this is when it becomes most important to wield. iRacing pace car is going to dive deep once again, and Trevor Huff is going to get back on the race leading trail. Here we go. iRacing official pace car says goodnight. Hopefully that means it's time for us to finish this one strong with a bunch of green flag action till the very end. Green flag's gonna fly, fourth restart of the night, and Huff commands the outside to a jump start of about a second. Beating and banging 3 wide, very far in the tail end of the field. Aaron Shugel's going to knock River Page out the way, and it looks like as those two shove each other, leader Trevor Huff's got himself the lead, and it looks like it's not going to be taken away quite easy. Daniel Mosteller stays with Jim Thurston, single file up in front. 1, 2, 3, all in line. No intentions of taking that spot away. Looks like rather comfortable these drivers are with one another and their respective placements. Interesting to see compared to what we've witnessed all night long. long. Daniel Mostello right now going to stay tucked in, maybe showing once or twice that he wants to go higher, but he has not committed to that decision. So, 9 laps to go. Single file racing, single digit lap count. We've hit the real tail end for certain now, and it looks like there's nothing else that can be due. Of course, for the driver like Trevor Huff, all his dues are paid. He's tried to make sure he's a trustworthy, reputable driver tonight. He does have teammates, but his teammates are not with them. The closest man he could work with is Aaron Schugel, who finds himself scored now in 8th, and Henry Kaloff in 9th. Say goodbye to teammates. It's every driver for himself as we get to this point of the race. Single file even still. Even at the back of the field right now, drivers have chosen not to joust for position, maybe understanding there's still a chance for the race win, and it's on the line. And you can see right now, all the way at the tail end, drivers like Braden Movick, well, he's got damage and looks to be effectively out of this one. Meanwhile, you see someone like Jim Thurston. He's gotten up in front. Devins Baker, River Page, maybe drivers who are still at the tail end of the field, they know the chance will come to them rather than having to go out and fight for it. Patrick Combs, who's been very quiet tonight. He's a driver who we might recognize based on his team, but not based on his own operation. CCM Racing, it looks like he's brought it back tonight in the number 29. Doesn't have anyone else he's racing with as a teammate. However, it looks like so far he's been able to put himself in nicely throughout the lead pack, even if he hasn't had anything remarkable occur in tonight's events. 7 laps to go. Trevor Huff is still going to find himself as the race leader, and that's only to be taken away from Jim Thurston. The 96 goes up top. The Pepto-Bismol 71. Dom Barbagallo is going to go right up there too, and to the ceiling. 2 very strong drivers, alike right now in mindset. They're going to be with each other again. The end goal, get to the end of this race and win. 62 one-thousandths of a second separate your top 2 drivers. It is coming down to margins of fractions of inches. That's what becomes the difference now for a driver like Barbagallo to someone like Trevor Huff. Jim Thurston, meanwhile, has the car length he needs to maybe consider just hanging on until the very end. 68 laps in out of 75. We passed that point. We're on to lap 69 now. Nice battles, but this is when it becomes serious. Enter lap 70. Jim Thurston's still going to hang tight here. Keep in mind, he's got himself a teammate in River Page he can rely on when the going gets tough. That's if River Page can get things going. Right now, he looks to be boxed in rather firmly, and this is a big problem because River hasn't made all too many friends on the racetrack tonight. You've seen him more or less banging doors with almost every driver in the field, and when you're trying to go out there and win a race, that's not really a good thing that you want to keep doing. So River's got to find an alternate strategy here. Find a way to make connections. He doesn't have many teammates to work with. The only one he could rely on is Nathan Palawada, and in turn that would mean Nathan would have to drive up to River, and they would have to drive up to Jim Thurston. It would be 3 cars together at the very end, but it all comes down to the work of each one of them. It's not easy. Now River Page, though, is getting closer to his teammate as Henry Kaloff takes the race lead with 5 laps remaining. 71 laps into 75. This is what it all comes down to. Kaloff is going to block once, twice on Jim Thurston. Jim has gotten out of the point where he is right there, and he wants the lead. Does he want it early, though, or is he going to decide to go up top? It looks like he'll give Kaloff the bottom, but in exchange, he'll try to take the race lead from the middle groove on the circuit. Huff bobbling now with his teammate, the number 63. Kaloff Deitch Racing is put together, but the teammates are not strong enough now to go against Barbagallo and Jim Thurston together. Dom is going to push Jim out into the front again. 4 laps remaining here in Talladega, and it looks like now Thurston, one of IORA Cup Series veterans, the former champion, is up and away. 2-time champion Daniel Mostello is watching on just behind. Furthermore, you got Season 5 champion River Page. He's also getting in the mix, and we might just see the 96 make that move to get inside of the top 5. That we did. River Page almost went on the high side, but was stunted there as he saw Braden Braden Movick. And with Braden right by the leaders, no choice but to get back inside for a double file maneuver. River Page is there, getting closer and closer to his teammate, and this is when it becomes valuable to keep making gains. Can you keep swinging from vine to vine, from groove to groove, and find those extra positions? It's almost impossible when you get up inside the top 5, but if you've gotten this far, there's always room to keep on improving once again. It's not going to be easy, might not be sustainable, but now aggression is going to be prioritized, especially for those in Thurston's position. Henry Cowloff and Trevor Huff, the teammates here, have been able to make both grooves their own. Daniel Mosteller stays with Trevor Huff. Cowloff decides to do something interesting here, leaving his teammate on the inside while he'll decide to block up top. Trevor's going to give him that perfect landing pad to come back into the inside groove. Well planned by both KDR drivers. That could have had significant negative implications, and yet they made it work together. Two laps to go. Popsicle sticks waving in the air. Henry Cowloff and teammate have been able to lead this way on the inside line now for the better part of 5 laps. Keep in mind though, Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport is coming up. Right now, Barbara Gallo is the only thing that separates PSISM from having 3 drivers lined up in a train rather than just Trevor Huff and Henry Cowloff here. We might just see a super team make some super moves. Here now, Dominic Barbagallo has a chance to take the bait. Thurston just went in there with Henry Cowloff, which means that if Barbagallo gets the lead of the outside groove, Palawada and River Page could come together and join their Precision teammate up in front. Coming across the tri-oval, 2.66 miles remain. One more time around in Alabama, Henry Cowloff gets to the white flag first. Now Jim Thurston has to buckle up. He's got himself in prime position to hang on. He's splitting up 2 teammates. How aggressive will Trevor Huff be in getting the 096 out of the way? He sees now Dominic Barbagallo with a wonderful ride up top. He's got momentum coming from 2 of the Precision teammates. What can Thurston do now to help Henry Cowloff? He's got no choice but to slot in line. Nothing happens down low. Nothing happens up high. It'll be now 1 mile from here to the checkered flag. Thurston continues to support Henry Cowloff on the inside. Henry's got barely the advantage, but now he'll lose support. Dominic Barbagallo gets up in front and away. Nobody can touch the 71 at the line. The field wrecks. Dominic Barbagallo wins the race for Mason 200. His first ever IORA win coming in exhibition fashion. And not only a win, Dominic Barbagallo wins clearly over second place Jim Thurston and third place River Page. Christian Delgado finishes in 4th with Michael Deitch P5, Weimar Duffus in 6th, and Patrick Holmes then 7th. 8th place will be Daniel Osteller, 9th is Nathan Palawada, and P10 is Trevor Huff with the 11th place Devins Baker. Henry Cowloff comes home in 12th, 13th Aaron Schugel, and Tegan Fox 14th, the final driver to make it to the finish. 15th place is Braden Movick, 4 laps down, with Connor Mirabelli, Vincent Guecci, Shay Schaefer, and Aiden Graham, your retirees on the night. By a quarter of a second, Dominic Barbagallo wins and is set to burn it down in Talladega. Barbagallo going to return to pit road, and looks like Dom rather quickly putting an end to that celebration. Let's get a word from your race winner if available, as Dom now going to put it on a burnout on pit road. And it looks like that's going to end it. Checkered flag is going to fly. Dominic Barbagallo, your race winner. And it looks like, interestingly enough, Dominic Barbagallo is not available for comment just yet. Waiting for some final confirmation here as Barbagallo got himself into this race and collected the checkered flag. Not only a major victory, but a massive turnout for the field who comes to celebrate, of course, a friend in Mason Moriarty. Looks like tonight Barbagallo is not available for comment. We'll try to get him in one final time and see if he's willing to come through. But if not, we're going to go immediately to your racing in the Highline Racing League. I'm sure you've been waiting for a while here if you're watching on FTN. Our second race is beginning momentarily, and it's about time now that we pulled through with, first and foremost, a word from race winner Dominic Barbagallo. Involved in many troubles tonight, but those previous incidents don't seem to matter when tonight you come away with the race win, Dom. What a way to win it. Nobody else there with you at the line. The checkered flag is yours in the race for Mason 200.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun. That's all. I don't know what to say. It was a lot of fun.
And everything works out for you for the victory tonight. First and foremost, we want to ask, it looks like this Gen 4 took a beating, but still survived to get to the end. You did take a faster pair, but it looks like had just enough in you to get away clean to finish the night.
I didn't even want to take the fast repair. I could have did it without the fast repair. It just randomly took it. I did a nice kick flip in the air around I'll say about 10 feet in the air. Car survived. I got in 3 wrecks. Cars took it like a champ. I'm so proud of the. Nah, no one built this car. This is iRacing's car. I'm proud of iRacing. Thank you for building this beautiful car. Yeah. That's all I got. That's all I got.
And a wonderful way to come into the Thursdays and this time around get a victory. Usually we see you more so Sunday night Schumacher Racing League, but making your entry here to IORA. Past few weeks seeing a little bit more of you. Next up on the schedule, we go back points pan racing to Darlington. How you feeling about maybe joining the tour for another race or two?
I would love to. I would love to do Darlington. It sounds like fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. It's Xfinity car, right? It's Xfinity car?
Yep.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I would love to do that.
Well, maybe we'll see a little bit more, Dom. Nevertheless, tonight, winning in the Gen 4s in the race for Mason. Any final comments or shout-outs you'd like to give?
Mason, I'm praying for you, man. I love you, dude. I love you. Hope you get better. Thank you, Muvik, for giving me advice during that race. Seriously. Thank you, Demos, for being there. Christian Delgado, thank you, dude. River Page, thank you for being River Page. That was entertaining. Other than that, thank you. That's all I got. Thank you.
Well, with that said, Dominic Barbagallo, big win tonight. The checkered flag is yours in Talladega. Thank you again for your time.
No problem.
And with Dom on the move, it ends a night of celebration, and we are glad, first and foremost, to bring the good news that Mason Moriarty has continued recovery, and it looks like hopefully he'll return to the racing circuit within a month's time. He's been with us at the IORA Cup Series, making things amazing since Season 4 when he took over as owner, and we're glad to have him here, continuing to bring a phenomenal product week in, week out. And this week, we're glad, first and foremost, that we got to treat him to a little bit of a surprise. Thank you all who have donated to the GoFundMe. Currently, several $1,000s have been racked up, and if you'd like to join and do your part, the link is in the description and pinned to the chat room, as you can see right now. You've just watched the Race for Mason, a special IORA Cup Series event happening here exclusively at the virtual Talladega Superspeedway. I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing, and we got to run to our next broadcast in the Highline Racing League. We hope to see you there. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We congratulate Dominic Barbagallo on his big victory, and hope to see you next week as the IORA Cup Series continues its Season 6 championship race next at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with the Highline Racing League, and we'll be back with IORA Cup Series next Thursday. And for those who have donated, a major support as well. We hope to see a lot more of those coming back for racing in the next few weeks. Thank you again for tuning into the Race for Mason 200. We hope you have a fantastic night.